Assalamu alaikum and peace to everyone. Hello and welcome to Trip Talk channel. Inshallah, I will share interesting stories and information. Let's get started. Bismillah, in the name of God. The name of this story is titled Black Coffee. I always thought it meant more to write about pain, heartbreak, and death, because who hasn't felt the knots in their gut when something twists inside them and felt the fraying ropes pull apart? It resonates more because we've all felt it. We haven't all felt the pure, unfiltered love story that I'm about to tell you. The sort of imperfect love where you're in your early 20s trying to navigate through a labyrinth of love and life that feels familiar and yet is still so new to you. It is like the movies in that all that matters is me and you, the floor sturdy beneath your feet in a way that it wasn't before, and the sunsets more orange, more pink, more colorful. And yet it was nothing like the movies. It wasn't superficial, it was real and had depth greater than the oceans. And I know because of how imperfect we were, and that just made me slip and fall for him even more. Wind will twist the strands of my hair and paste it to my lip gloss seconds before he was going to kiss me. My shirt will get stuck on my head when he's trying to take it off, and occasionally, just occasionally, he'll put milk in my coffee when I drink it black. Which one is mine, Zeke? My eyes flitted from one mug to the other, milky coffee gently swirling in both. Steamy wisps filtered upwards as his arm snaked around my waist, and his head came to rest on my shoulder. His dyed cobalt hair felt like a feather against my cheek. I did it again, didn't I? He winced, and I felt his body pull away from mine and reach for the mug on the left to pour its contents down the sink. Intercepting his muscled arm, I plucked the mug from his hand and inhaled that sweet aroma of coffee beans. I'm sure it will taste amazing. A smile formed naturally on my oval face as I stared up at him, leaning my hip against the counter. I don't mind making you a new one, Athena. Yes, you heard right. Athena and Ezekiel. We had the names of gods. People try and pinpoint the moment they fell in love, but how can I when I loved every single part of him, and it was at different moments that I noticed the different parts of him. Everyone really thinks they've cracked the code to being in love, but honestly, I think I have, and there's 5 parts to it. The first part is coffee. Okay, fine. I hear you saying he made it wrong, but he remembered and then offered to start his efforts again. It's not about being perfect, but accepting your faults and willingness to try again. The second part involves a piece of paper and 2 minutes and 17 seconds. In case you still haven't guessed, he made me a paper airplane. It was one of those nights where winter had reached out its cold fingers and no one dares ventures outside. So we sat huddled together on the worn carpet in front of the coal fire my parents still had installed, even though we hardly ever used it since the pigeon nest incident last year. We played poker, and I won all his chips on a bluff that I had nothing left to lose. I had just enough for the buy-in and one bet, so laughingly went on, all in. He obliged, and I threw down my cards to reveal a royal flush, and claimed his heaving pile of blue and black and green plastic. Then we played a trivia game we were both equally awful at, and one of the questions concerned a paper plane. I've never made one. I looked up at him across the trivia board, its multicolor squares blending into one another as the flame's heat licked up the right arm. Really? Never? Not once, I responded, as he reached for an unused scorecard and used skilled fingers to fold the stiff card into a small airplane shape. The evening bled on in a cocktail of black coffees, the movement of cone-shaped pieces on boards, and light-hearted ribbing. All too soon, the front door closed behind him, and I began the tedious task of clearing away mugs with dregs swimming at the bottom and scraped chocolate wrappers into the bins. Using my thumb and index fingers, I picked up his air pellet and hovered it over the open bin, knowing instinctively that I wouldn't be able to throw it away because he made it. He made it in a swift minute, discarded and forgotten moments later, but his fingers had seized those corners and folded those sections. It still sits proudly on my windowsill to this day. The third part was when I realized that I found comfort in his presence. When I had no makeup on, messy hair held in a ponytail, and wearing one of his oversized hoodies, he looked at me with something like adoration in his eyes and called me beautiful. With my spots that looked like red pin pricks lining my chin and unlocked eyebrows, and a cookie poised halfway between my hand and mouth, I didn't have to be anything other than me. The fourth part requires rain. You can tell a lot about a person in how they react to the rain. A few gentle drops will send some people into a tailspin, while others will balance umbrellas in the crook of their elbow and stroll right through the puddles, feeling encumbered and free, the sky firing water bullets at their legs. He had taken my pale hand in his slightly more tan one, my dark purple nail varnish chipped and staring up at me, and used his other hand to pull my coat zipper higher so that I was protected against the rain that had started to spit at us as we walked through the autumn leaves that crunch underfoot. I love the rain. I tilted my face upwards and stuck my tongue out so that it caught the falling drops, like splinters of ice in my mouth. It began to rain harder, faster, with more intensity. Coats weren't enough to protect us from the relentless shower. Jeans pasting to our legs, and Wellington boots splashing mud up their sides. He laughed, his face splitting in two, and ran through the middle of a puddle forming in front of us, my hand still clasped in his, so I was dragged along on his adventure. It was a time for laughing, for getting wet in the rain, and for realizing that he liked the rain too. So this was okay. This was going to work. My darling reader, I don't think I've explained this well enough for it to resonate within you on how pure, how unfiltered, how unchanging this love was. It was the sort of feeling that came with being so unafraid from being young and reckless in love, but still old enough and bruised enough from previous experiences to know that this was different and this would last. I can't explain it because truly I don't understand it myself. But I knew this wasn't fleeting. I was never going to cry over my heartache when one of us walked away 3 years in. No, I would glance at him with his graying hair and wrinkles, creasing his eyes, and know that we had made it. So maybe I haven't explained, and you haven't understood, but I still owe it to you to tell the fifth part. The fifth and final part is the giving of a meaningful gift, even when you don't expect it, especially when you don't expect it. And he gave me the greatest one of all. My hand lightly grazed my heart and stomach. They call it a kick, but is more like a flutter, like a butterfly, wings tapping on a glass. We are not perfect, but I kind of love how imperfect we are. I hope you enjoyed our story today. Please hit the like button and subscribe to Trip Talk YouTube channel. Inshallah, we will see you in our next video. Masalama. I hope you enjoyed our story today. Please hit the like button and subscribe to Trip Talk YouTube channel. Inshallah, we will see you in our next video. Masalama.